Government debt explained. How countries borrow money. When people hear the words government debt, they often imagine something extremely complicated. But the idea behind it is actually simple, and understanding it reveals an important piece of how the modern money system works. In the next few minutes, you'll learn why governments borrow money, how they do it, who lends them the money, and why government debt plays such an important role in the global financial system. And by the end of this video, you'll understand something many people never realize. Government borrowing is deeply connected to banks, central banks, and the movement of money throughout the economy. Let's begin with a simple question. Why do governments borrow money in the first place? Countries spend money on many large and long-term projects: infrastructure, transportation systems, education, healthcare systems, and public services. These projects can take years or even decades to complete. Instead of collecting all the money through taxes immediately, governments often borrow money and repay it gradually over time. But governments don't go to a bank the way individuals or businesses do. Instead, they borrow money through financial markets using something called government bonds. A government bond is essentially a loan agreement. When someone buys a government bond, they are lending money to the government. In return, the government promises to repay that money in the future, along with interest. Let's walk through a simple example. Imagine a government wants to build a large transportation project and needs $1 billion. Instead of raising taxes immediately, the government issues bonds worth $1 billion. Investors purchase those bonds and provide the funding. Over time, the government pays interest to those investors and eventually repays the original amount borrowed. In this way, government bonds allow countries to raise large amounts of money from many lenders at the same time. Now, an interesting question appears. Who actually buys government bonds? Several types of institutions participate. Commercial banks often buy government bonds because they are considered relatively stable financial assets. Pension funds also purchase them because they need predictable long-term investments to support retirement payments. Insurance companies and investment funds also participate. And sometimes central banks buy government bonds as part of their monetary policy operations, something we explored in the previous video. This is where the system becomes even more interesting. Government debt doesn't just sit somewhere on a balance sheet. Government bonds are actively traded in financial markets around the world. They are used as benchmarks for interest rates and are widely held by financial institutions. In other words, government debt becomes part of the infrastructure of the financial system itself. Now, another important question appears: what happens when government debt grows? Debt itself is not unusual. Many countries borrow money regularly and manage that debt over long periods of time. The key factor is whether the government can continue servicing the debt, meaning making the required interest payments. Economic growth, tax revenue, and interest rates all influence this process. What makes government bonds important is that they provide financial assets that banks, investors, and institutions can hold. These assets help support financial markets and influence how money moves through the economy. Understanding government borrowing helps complete another piece of the modern money system. Banks create money through lending. Central banks influence interest rates and financial conditions, and governments borrow money through bonds to finance long-term spending. Together, these institutions form the structure of the financial system we live in today. And this leads to the next important topic. In the next video, we'll explore financial markets and see how money moves between investors, banks, and institutions across the global economy. If you want to continue learning how money really works, subscribe to the channel and watch the related videos in the Learn Money playlist. Each video builds on the previous one and helps you understand the full structure of the financial system step by step.